Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I'm in Tbilisi, the capital city of Georgia. I'll give a quick panorama. And I'm actually right next door. Behind me is the Monograph Hotel entrance. And I'm at the Machekela Kitno, the Machekela restaurant is what it's commonly called here. So if you're in Tbilisi and you're a tourist and you're asking, ask for a Machekela restaurant. And that's where I'm at right now. Now, I was just in Borjomi 2 weeks ago, and this is, as I was talking about, the same river or mountain stream. It's founded in 1890 as far as the bottling company of the Borjomi mineral waters. And as I explained from Borjomi, that's what I'm drinking here. And that's what I usually drink. Also, Georgia, of course, is known for its fantastic wine, and the history and culture are very much entwined with the what I consider to be the finest of wines. It's hard to leave Georgia and enjoy other wine, although we had some in Missouri. Missouri has a lot of wineries, and there was some delicious wine when I was there with my mother and Terry cooked a couple of years ago at the barbecue place downtown in Marshall, Missouri, just right off the square. So today I went ahead and decided to get a glass of wine. And so for those who are watching, I see at least it says there's one. Who knows, you'll see this later. Cheers, it's a beautiful autumn day here in Georgia. And I'm waiting on the meal to arrive, which won't be too much longer. And so I've used AirBnB for the trip and accommodation. As far as the accommodation in Borjomi, really fantastic. I had one of the what I consider to be one of the best offerings in Borjomi, and I highly recommend that anyone that wants to know my reviews on the two places that I've stayed at in the last month, they can check that out on Airbnb. And again, my name is Michael Vanderpool. I don't know if there's a username on there. I have to look it up. But last year, through Airbnb, I stayed at Machekela, the beach, for 3 days before going on over by train, Swiss double-decker train here in Georgia, Georgian Railways, on over to Batumi. And I had a flat there, about 20 minutes walk from the beach, which is what I prefer because I walk every day. And I make that a habit around the world, whether I'm on the USA side of the ocean or whether I'm over here in Georgia, or even if I stop over in Europe or wherever. Well, when I was in New Zealand, for example, that's another corner of the world, right? I was walking every day, about 45 minutes a day. So it's exactly what I wanted. Madoba. And now this has arrived. So I was really happy with Airbnb's initial deal because it was a first time booking for me. I was able to book the trip at like another 15% off or something. So I was able to stay at $10 a day in both locations. It was pretty incredible. So today I sent a discount offer of like $92 or $91. I think it was $91 off to friends and family through email, through Airbnb Direct. So that if any of them haven't used Airbnb before, they'll get like $92 off of their first bookings, which are usually about a 2 to 3 day requirement to get, the booking. So my brother, for example, my mother, my father, for example, some other friends here in Georgia, one of the girls is married. Another girl, I bet she knows about it. But if not, they've got $92 credit if they want to use Airbnb for the first time. To book business, travel, or just maybe they should have a romantic weekend, for example, and go off to Kazbeki or Signagi or wherever, Martaveli or like not only Mestia, but wherever they want to go. I've used Superhosts in the last couple of accommodations that I booked. In fact, I booked another accommodation today for the month ahead now, and also used another host here in Georgia. And I like that situation a lot better than we went to. I had a very good friend, Georgian friend, go with me to the brokers down on the dry bridge. There's a lot of real estate brokers or brokers for apartment rentals or even a room, for example, down on what used to be the dry bridge, or what it still is called the dry bridge. But they changed their way of operating in terms of dealing with me. They wanted 2 months up front, which is understandable. But for me, being in a country next door to Azerbaijan and Armenia, the situation they've got going on right now, and the pandemic and the changing rules as far as who might be able to stay, who may have to leave, and all that stuff. Between those two factors, it would be very stupid for me to book more than a month ahead right now. It would be very stupid for me to put 2 months down right now, which is what they wanted. So instead of putting the money into local hands directly, I went with Airbnb again into Superhost, and I've got a very nice cottage that's not part of a building. I won't have any roommates. I won't share a room. I've got the entire cottage to myself for the full month ahead through Airbnb. That means I won't share air. I won't risk infection as far as where the accommodation is. It is a Superhost. A lot of the Superhosts are following the guidelines in regards to the current situation in the world. They're using, like, for example, a 5 protocol on cleanliness and cleaning and disinfecting the accommodation before I'll come in. Very similar, very exact to what hotels are doing right now, for example. I love Borjomi. I still remember being over in Vera. What was Vera Inn, my friend's hotel, back in 2010 and 2011. And I remember having breakfast. Businessmen coming over from Israel. We're all having breakfast down in the kitchen there of Vera Inn over on Bonhoff Street. And these businessmen from Israel were headed to Borjomi next, where I just came from 2 weeks ago and had spent 2 weeks there, because they wanted to buy large volumes of the best mineral water in the world for Israel. And they're coming here and buying this same water. So that's Israel, and that's what the breakfast that I remember at Vera Inn, and many other experiences. I could write a chapter or 2 or 3 or 4 on just my experiences at Vera Inn when that hotel was in operation. It's now being remodeled, and that business is being up for rent or for sale. It's 1 block from the Chinese embassy, so if you want an 8-room property with also a living side that has another, probably at least another 4, maybe 5 rooms, it's about originally around close to $2 million property, maybe a little bit under $2 million property. Private message me, because that property is up for sale or rent. And it really is just 1 block from the Chinese embassy. So it's a premium property in an elite district here in Tbilisi, which is on track over the long term. You know, after this pandemic is over, let's give it another year and a half. And when that's over, this part of the world is on track to be, you know, for example, another Prague. If you know the story behind Prague, and it's going from relatively low investment, low, you know, economy into one of the hotter places in Eastern Europe at the time. In 2004 and 2005, when I was in Kiev, they were hoping and expecting that for Kiev. So here in Tbilisi, they're on track over the long term. You know, it's a difficult time right now, but after 2 or 3 years, they should be on track to being one of the hottest investment locations in the world, practically on the ground, realistically speaking. And I trust that. So I'm going to have this meal now. Delicious wine, as always. The Georgians have a long, long history. Archaeology backs it up. It's not just a myth. It's not just some story. Archaeological finds here continue to back up. This is one of the earliest wine civilizations in the world right here, right now in Georgia. It's really, really good. So, I'm at Machekela restaurant on Tbilisi's Freedom Square. Some of them call it Liberty Square. Absolutely fantastic. And if you stop into this, to Georgia, to this country, you've got to stop by Machekela restaurant because it gives you the opportunity to order and taste and experience some of the traditional Georgian cuisine. Like right now, the lady across the way here, for privacy reasons, I won't show, but she's got a what we call kind of a boat-shaped hachapuri. It's kind of a boat-shaped bread, tapered off, which has got, you know, thousands of years history of how they make their bread with the egg in the middle. So it's really, really fantastic. Very, very good. Beautiful day here in Tbilisi, and I hope where you're at it's also beautiful. I know back in Missouri it is. Family and friends have been telling me when I've been on the phone or in Telegram, for example, the app, how beautiful the weather's been there too. So that's something both sides of the ocean are sharing right now as far as Georgia and Missouri.